Welcome to Recovery Fundamentals Module 2, Meet the Client. In the first module, you'll learn about the recovery process, your role, and skills and techniques you can use to build rapport and trust with your client. In this module, we take our interaction with the family one step further, where you will learn how to determine who is in the family and know when to create multiple cases. You'll also learn how to identify who will represent the family as the primary client. We'll discuss situations where those living in the same household may be separated into multiple cases depending upon their recovery plans. We'll also talk about the right steps to take in determining a primary client when encountering difficult situations, such as communication issues and disaster-caused fatalities. By the end of this module, you'll be able to determine who will represent the family as the primary client, identify who is in the family, and know when to create multiple cases. You'll also be able to recall how to handle challenging situations that sometimes come up about determining who is the primary client. Before the formal initial interview begins, you'll need to determine who is in the family and who can represent the family as the primary client. The person you are speaking to at first is not always the primary client. The primary client must be an adult, 18 years or older, any gender, who is willing to communicate with the Red Cross, representing the family during the family's disaster recovery, today, and during the recovery process. Willing to share personal information with Red Cross. Able to make recovery planning decisions, and able to receive and spend direct client assistance when qualified. You are helping a woman whose husband is in the hospital, sedated, recovering from injuries. She would like her husband to be listed as the primary client since he handles the finances for the family. Can he be listed as the primary client? Yes or no? The answer is no, because someone who is unconscious, unable to make recovery decisions, or receive and spend DCA cannot be the primary client. In this case, the primary client has to be the person who can talk with Red Cross, make recovery decisions, and spend the assistance. This is the wife in this scenario. Contact your supervisor in this situation and also refer the case to Disaster Health Services. We use the word family to include the primary client and the household with individuals who lived together before the disaster and have the same recovery plan, meaning they plan to remain together after the disaster and during their recovery. The family can consist of people related or unrelated, married or unmarried, together for decades, or sharing a home for a short period of time who plan to remain together. There might be close or separate financial relationships. Do not be concerned with who is on the lease or whether rent or housing payments are up to date. Remain neutral and impartial while you support your clients. We group clients who lived together before the disaster in a case or family according to their shared recovery plan. This means only those who lived together before the disaster and who will remain together during recovery will be in the case. Next, learn about the group's recovery plan. This is about who lived together pre-disaster that will remain together after the disaster during their recovery. Sometimes the primary client states that members of the household have separate recovery plans. If some of the prior household members plan to recover separately, then the group recovering separately will have their own case with its own primary client. Having a consistent process in every case and in every region is fair to all clients in all regions. The key question to ask is, do you all plan to live together after the disaster during your recovery? If the clients will live together, then create one case. If the clients will live separately, then be sure to create multiple cases. Another interviewer can meet with the primary client for the family with a separate recovery plan. There are a few rare situations you may encounter. For example, a large household with multiple households shared a pre-disaster housing unit. You ask about their recovery plan. If all the people plan to remain together, then assist the clients as one family or household in one case record. If any of the household members or families plan to live separately, create a case record for each group planning to recover together and determine the primary client for each case. There will be separate assistance and follow-up casework services for each case. In the case of housemates, if they plan to remain together during recovery, assist them in one case. If they plan to live separately after the disaster, assist them in separate cases, each with a separate primary client, assistance, and follow-up. Remember, we focus on the recovery plan only. Families may have a visitor at the time of the disaster. A visitor is someone who has been living at the disaster-affected pre-disaster home for a very short period of time, who has most of their belongings at another home, and is not planning to live in the disaster-affected home after the disaster. If the visitor is unable to return home in the next day or two, assess the visitor's qualification for immediate direct client assistance, including lodging assistance, using the immediate DCA roadmap. Since the visitor has a separate recovery plan, assist the visitor in a separate case. You may have been taught earlier rules before 2014. These are the rules we follow now for the primary client and the other members of the household or family in the case. Let's practice determining who is in a case based on different scenarios you may encounter. The next few slides will contain a scenario. Read the scenario and answer the question. A mother lives with her two daughters, ages 15 and 20. They all plan on recovering together. The family has selected the 20-year-old daughter to act as the primary client. Can the 20-year-old daughter act as the primary client? Yes or no? The correct answer is yes. The 20-year-old or mother may be the primary client. The choice of primary client is up to the clients and may be an adult of any age or gender, but it cannot be a child, so the 15-year-old would not qualify to be the primary client. A mother, father, and child rent a home. They sublet a room to a coworker who plans on recovering separately from the family. How many cases is this? One case or two cases? The correct answer is two cases. Case 1 is made up of the mother and the father and child. Case 2 includes only the coworker tenant who is the primary client and plans to live with another friend. When clients plan to recover separately, create separate cases. A grandma, mom, dad, 3-month-old infant live together and plan on recovering together after the disaster. How many cases with how many family members is this? One case with 4 members or two cases with 3 members in one and the grandma in another? The correct answer is one case with 4 members. Infants are included in the head count, and a grandparent is part of the family when all plan to recover together. 2 adult sisters, each with a child, live together. One sister works the night shift and one works the day shift. They eat separately. They plan to recover together. How many cases is this? One or two? The correct answer is one case. Working schedules and eating habits do not impact their one shared recovery plan. You are helping these 2 men who live together. You do not know if they are cousins, friends, or partners. Does their relationship impact the recovery case? Yes or no? The correct answer is no. It's all about who will live together during the recovery. There will be one case if they are recovering together or 2 cases if they are recovering separately. Focus on the recovery plan, not the family or financial relationships. You are helping a father, his partner, his teenage son, his adult sister, her partner, and her 2 children. They all were living together before the disaster. Now the adult sister and her partner and 2 children want to recover separately. How many cases is this? One or two? The correct answer is 2 cases. Regardless of the relationships, the focus remains on the recovery plans. You may encounter a situation where it is difficult to communicate with the primary client. This may happen if the adult has hearing challenges or speaks a foreign language. If this occurs, identify an interpreter. Explain the confidential nature of the meeting to the interpreter. A partner agency member may be able to interpret. This could also be another adult or a child over the age of 16 with the primary client's permission. In rare situations, children survive, but there is not a pre-disaster adult family member who is able to act as primary client. This may happen when an adult client is deceased, unable to communicate, or unable to act as the primary client, and there is no other adult living in the home. Or perhaps one person lived in the home who is now hospitalized and unable to make recovery decisions or speak with Red Cross. In this case, contact your supervisor. Red Cross will need to find a non-resident to be the primary client. This could be another adult or family member who doesn't live with the family but can represent the family members. This non-resident primary client will make and communicate recovery decisions with Red Cross and receive direct client assistance for the family. Once you have connected with the client, you should explain the mission of the Red Cross. Talk about services that are available now and those available later during follow-up. Promote realistic client expectations. Explain Red Cross offers financial assistance called direct client assistance to qualified clients. Let the client know we can offer disaster health services and disaster counseling, family reunification, information about and referrals to other available resources. Tell the client we offer information about disaster preparedness, disaster emergency supplies, and other needed response assistance to all clients, regardless of direct client assistance qualifications. When Red Cross shelters and feeding sites are open, offer current information about the closest location. Offer toiletries and stuffed animals, as well as water and snacks when available. You may also offer items such as blankets. No interview, referral, or case is needed for these disaster emergency supplies or mass care items, which should not be recorded in CAS 2.0 client records. In large disaster relief operations, additional items may be available. You should open a service-only or non-DCA case for a client who would like our services but does not qualify or does not accept direct client assistance. Follow the usual steps, but with no direct client assistance. If a client declines all Red Cross services, your supervisor can explain how to document and track the response. We covered quite a bit in this module, such as how to determine who will represent the family as the primary client. We also discussed the importance of identifying who is in the family and when to create multiple cases. Finally, we reviewed how to handle challenging situations that sometimes come up about determining who is the primary client. You are now ready to conduct the initial interview. We will cover the first half of conducting an initial interview in the next module, Module 3, Conduct the Initial Interview, and conclude the initial interview in Module 4, Assess Direct Client Assistance Qualifications. Thank you for watching this module. The following slides contain photo credits.